Welcome to the Human vs. Universe. I am your narrator. Make sure you subscribe to our channel for more stories. The first time the galaxy stopped breathing, it happened on a runway that circled a blue-white star. They called it the Halo Catwalk, an impossible ring of transparent force that skimmed the stellar corona, hosted once every decade by the Concord of Worlds. Entire civilizations paused their wars and negotiations to watch. The models who walked there were not merely beautiful. They were living symbols of interstellar harmony, engineered fashion, and physics woven together. And among them all, none shone brighter than Lyriel of Asterai. She was a supermodel in the truest galactic sense. Her presence tuned gravitational harmonics, her movements calibrated by ancient light sculptors. When she walked, cameras didn't merely record, they recalibrated. Stars seemed to dim in deference. Her species, the Asterai, were born from nebulae and raised among suns. They were admired, envied, and kept carefully distant. No one ever chose an Asterai. They were too far above ordinary bonds. Except that day, Lyriel stopped at the end of the runway and looked straight at a human. Evan Hale stood at the edge of the press platform, wearing a borrowed jacket and a badge that still felt unreal around his neck. He was a systems engineer from Earth, contracted to help stabilize the Halo Catwalk's human interface controls, redundancies, fail-safes, the unglamorous scaffolding behind Galactic spectacle. He wasn't supposed to be visible. When Lyriel's eyes found him, the crowd murmured, a sound like solar wind scraping hulls. Evan froze, certain it was a mistake. He glanced behind him. No one else stood there. She stepped off the runway. Security fields flared. Diplomats shouted. The music faltered. And the galaxy, watching through a trillion lenses, held its breath. Lyriel crossed the platform as if gravity had redefined itself around her. When she stopped in front of Evan, she inclined her head, a gesture of respect rarely offered even to emperors. "I choose you," she said, her voice carrying without amplification. Evan Hale of Earth. 4-3 heartbeats. No one moved. Then the Concord erupted. The aftermath was chaos. Protocols shattered like glass. The asteroid delegation withdrew into emergency conclave. Human diplomats demanded explanations they were unprepared to receive. Analysts flooded the nets with theories. Political stunt, experimental art, catastrophic error. Evan was escorted, not arrested, but not free either, into a quiet chamber lined with adaptive light. Lyriel waited there, her radiance dimmed to something gentler, almost human. "I'm sorry," she said, and the sincerity in her tone startled him more than the day's events. "I know this has caused you distress." "I don't even know what just happened," Evan admitted. "I fix interfaces. I don't get chosen." A faint smile curved her lips. "That is precisely why." She explained then, in fragments that slowly assembled into something enormous. The Asterai were not merely beautiful beings of light. They were custodians of stellar genesis. Rarely, once in many millennia, an Asterai carried within them the seed of a new star. An unborn star, bound to consciousness, shaped by choice. "It requires balance," Lyriel said. "Emotion and logic, wonder and restraint. A mind unshaped by our long traditions." Evan laughed weakly. "You picked a human engineer because we're messy." "Because you are resilient," she corrected. "Because you build bridges between impossibilities. And because when the catwalk destabilized this morning, it was your code that held it together." Evan remembered the moment, an unexpected solar flare, a cascade failure he'd patched with instinct more than planning. He hadn't known anyone noticed. The unborn star responded to that. Lyriel continued, "To the one who steadies the impossible." The choice, she said, was not romantic in the simplistic sense the galaxy assumed. It was something deeper, partnership, guardianship, a bond that would shape a sun and, with it, entire future systems. "I should have been consulted," Evan said quietly. You should have. Lyriel agreed. And now you are. The middle of their story unfolded far from cameras. The Concorde audit evaluations. Evan underwent weeks of scans, interviews, simulations designed by minds older than Earth's first oceans. Each time, he passed, not because he was exceptional, but because he was human. He questioned assumptions. He asked why. He refused to pretend certainty when none existed. Lyriel watched, fascinated. They spoke often during those days, sitting in observation gardens where artificial stars bloomed like flowers. She told him of her upbringing, of learning to walk in shifting gravity, of being taught that her body was both art and instrument. He told her about Earth's sunsets, about fixing broken things with limited tools, about how humans learn by failing forward. Something grew between them, quiet and unforced. Not everyone welcomed it. A faction within the Concorde feared what an unborn star shaped by human influence might become. Others resented the precedent, an asteroid choosing freely, outside tradition. Whispers spread of imbalance, of contamination. When the sabotage attempt came, it was swift. During a routine resonance test, the containment lattice around Lyriel faltered. Alarm screamed. The unborn star within her flared, its nascent gravity tearing at space-time. Evan didn't wait for orders. He ran. Security tried to stop him, but human stubbornness proved difficult to restrain. He reached the core chamber, hands flying across controls that were never meant for human use. Evan! Lyriel cried, pain flickering across her luminous features. I've got you, he said, not entirely sure that was true. He rerouted power through systems he'd once designed as theoretical backups, improvising under pressure the way he always had. The unborn star responded, not with raw force, but with focus. Its turbulence smoothed, drawn to the steadiness of his intent. The lattice stabilized. The alarms fell silent. In the aftermath, the truth emerged. The sabotage was exposed. The Concorde could no longer deny what they had witnessed. The bond worked. More than that, it thrived. The galaxy stopped breathing for the second time when Lyriel addressed the Concorde, Evan standing beside her not as a curiosity, but as an equal. The unborn star has chosen as well, she said. It resonates with humanity's gift, the will to protect what has not yet proven its worth. Silence followed, heavy and profound. The decision was made. The unborn star will be allowed to come to tame, not in isolation, but under joint stewardship. A new system will be born, guided by asteroid wisdom and human adaptability. The process took years. Evan and Lyriel traveled together, visiting worlds that would one day orbit the star yet to be born. They argued, learned, compromised. They faced fear and awe in equal measure. Through it all, the bond deepened. Not ownership, not destiny, but partnership freely chosen. When the time came, they stood at the heart of a forming nebula. Lyriel shone brighter than ever, her form a living condor to creation. Evan anchored the process, monitoring, adjusting, trusting his instincts as he always had. The unborn star ignited, not violently, but with a steady, confident light. A new sun burned where none had before. The galaxy exhaled. In the years that followed, myths grew. They spoke of the alien supermodel who defied tradition, and the human who reminded the stars how to be born. They told stories of a system where worlds developed in careful harmony, where no species claimed dominion alone. Evan never became famous in the way the galaxy understood fame. He remained an engineer, solving problems, teaching others how to bridge gaps. Lyriel continued to walk runways when she chose, but now she did so with a different gravity, one earned through choice rather than design. Sometimes they would return to the Halo catwalk. They would stand together at its edge, watching new models take their first steps above a star. And sometimes, just sometimes, Lyriel would squeeze Evan's hand and smile. "Do you regret it?" she would ask. Evan would look out at the galaxy that once stopped, and now moved forward because of a single, unlikely choice. Not for a second, he'd say. And somewhere, in the quiet burn of a young sun, the future listened and learned what it meant for humanity to matter among the stars.